became vegan long before I changed my diet. I think I didn't even realize it at first, because it was a very gradual transition, first in my mind, and then my actions followed. I was driven by my endless curiosity and compassion. And then there was a point where I had no choice but to lean into the depths of my heart. Looking back, it was only a matter of time for me to change my life this way. And knowing what I know now, this is only the beginning.
Well, hello and welcome back. Happy New Year, everyone. I thought what better way to start 2021 than by telling you guys why I am vegan. Because I thought, tying in with Veganuary, I would do a couple of videos every week to just encourage you and give you some nudge into this realm of eating and thinking and being. So without further ado, let's just jump into the video. So when it comes to labeling myself, especially the way I'm eating, I'm generally not really in favor of doing so. But when someone asks me if I'm vegan, instead of saying, well, that's kind of not true because my diet is more of a whole food plant-based diet with a really generous dose of intuitive eating, and I don't take oil and I don't take refined sugar on a daily basis, then yeah, it's easier to say that yes, I am vegan. So let's get that out of the way, how to debunk how I eat, and then we can get into why I'm eating this way. So I've had my fair share of diet fads and just really not finding my way around food and eating, and I've had I touched briefly on some eating disorders when I was in my teenage years and early 20s, and I don't wish that upon anyone. So, but that's not this video. I've always wanted to be free in my choices, free in the way I eat. I don't do well with restrictions. That's what I'm trying to say. So long story short, I am eating a whole food plant-based diet now with very little refined sugars and very little amount of oils that don't come in that whole food form. So no oil on a regular basis. So and I'm also quite intuitive with my eating. I'm experimenting with some intermittent fasting here and there when I feel like it, and when I don't feel like it, I eat twice. I take 2 servings of dinner. So that's how I eat now, and you could say that in short that's a vegan lifestyle, and that wouldn't be really far from the truth. But there's always more to a label, so I really like to have that as a disclaimer. Is this a disclaimer? Maybe this is the first disclaimer of my channel. So always know that there's more to a label, any label in general. And there's no why I'm vegan video without someone telling to a camera and telling to their audiences that they've watched the best speech you'll ever hear. So that'll be linked in the description box. You saw that coming, didn't you? So I've watched that speech. I try to link that into my story actually, because that's not how my story starts. My vegan story starts, as I've said, way before I changed my diet. So I think I became vegan in my mind first than in my diet, and let me explain. So as you may know, as you saw my couple of my older videos, one of my hobbies is to ride a horse, and I also have a horse, and I've been riding for the better half of a decade now, so it's been part of my life for quite some time now. And I distinctly remember making a very strong connection while I was around high school age. I knew I could already drive a car, so I could have been like 16 or 17 at the time. And it was during or after rather, a particularly good session with my horse. We went out to the forest, and it was very harmony was there and sparkles, and it was just a great session. And after that I went to buy some ingredients for dinner for myself, and I was still in my riding gear. I could still smell my horse in my nose, and I had still the really nice tiredness of a good ride, the physical fatigue in my muscles. So at this time I was riding in Hungary, and in certain supermarkets you can buy traditional Hungarian sausage made out of horse meat. And as I was browsing through the aisles, I saw this just offering about horse meat, and it was really obvious to me that I would never go and touch that food, but it just sickened me that was even on the shelves, because I just came from the loveliest, sentient, most intelligent being I've ever known, that I have a really profound and really deep connection with, and here they are offering the same kind of species in a form that just made my stomach turn. So it wasn't really, I would never be aggressive towards people who buy those and who consume those, because at the end of the day we're all free to choose whatever we choose to eat and to live our lives the way we choose to. But at that particular moment in time in my life, I just made this weird connection of, if anyone's buying that, if whoever's buying that horse sausage, have they ever petted a horse? Or has anyone I've ever met at the ranch where I keep my horse, who rides a horse, or who, God forbid, owns a horse and loves it just as much as I love mine, do they eat horse sausage? So that thought just stuck with me, that it's really a twisted parallel, that in the morning you can go out and enjoy the sunshine on the back of your horse and have this really lovely connection with this sentient, intelligent animal, and then for lunch or dinner you're free to go to the supermarket and buy sausage made from horse meat. So that just stuck with me, and from then on it was really obvious for me not to eat sausage made from horse meat. But even before that I was never drawn to horse meat to consume, because I just couldn't bring myself to it. And that was it when I was 17. For a long time I didn't change anything about my diet. Years went on, I finished my high school education and I was doing my bachelor's, and during my bachelor's I moved to Italy. And while I was there, Italians eat more horse meat than Hungarians, so the conversation came up again with my Italian flatmates about horse meat consumption and how I even came as close to touching horse sausage because it was in our fridge, our shared fridge. So it was very real to me, the contrast of how I'm eating and how my choices shape my diet. So while I was there, I've watched the best speech you'll ever hear, and it was very quite eye-opening. And while I was in Italy, it was also the first time for me to cook for myself exclusively. So I had a really nice living situation there. I lived really, really close to a fresh food market, like a farmer's market, that was on 5 days, even 6 days a week sometimes. And I was really fortunate to have my hands on fresh produce all week long for 7 months really. So there was this really, really stark realization in December, because I started my exchange semester in September, that in December I realized when we went out for dinner that this is the first time I'm eating meat, because it was prepared for me. Because as I was thinking back, I was drawn to the abundance and the colors of the vegetables from the market rather than the butchers that was just over the corner really, where everyone went to buy their fresh meat. And it just stuck with me from then on that I would be more conscious about consuming less meat. But it was nothing really, I was not actively doing it. It was just me not choosing it because I was not gravitating towards it. So I think this is where I start intuitive eating, really. So this is Italy. I watch The Best Sweet You'll Ever Hear, and I start eating more on, like, verging on the vegetarian side. And then again, years go on, I finished my bachelor's and then I moved to England. And this is around early 2017, mid 2017. And that's when I really discovered the power of social media, especially YouTube at the time. And I started following Ellen Fisher and Derek Simnett. And these two people had more impact on me in a short period of time than anything and anyone I've ever met before. So based on their recommendations, recipes and just resources, I've started doing my own research. So after a couple of months, I've started listening to the book Full by Dr. T. Colin Campbell, and I was listening to that to and from work, and really slowly, really peacefully just easing my way out of dairy consumption, starting out with my morning latte, and I've switched it to oat milk. And really gradually I started experimenting with whole food plant-based recipes. I started baking sweet potatoes and had some guacamole. The first time I had guacamole was in 2017. I'll just leave it there. I don't know what I've done before that, but that was the first time I had guacamole. So I started experimenting with salads, and in the meantime, in the summer of 2017, I started experiencing just weird symptoms around my cycle. So whenever I would start my cycle, and I don't really have a heavy flow or anything, so man TMI, I would feel this really unsatiable thirst for oxygen, and no matter how I wanted and how deeply I was breathing, I felt like I just couldn't breathe enough. It was a weird just hunger for fresh air, and it was not going on for so long to make me anxious or to make me concerned. It was just around the time when I started bleeding, and just for a couple of hours, and then it went away. So I experienced that for a couple of months, and then I also had these days, not days, but a couple of hours before I would start my cycle, where I would just it would be really hard for me to get out of bed, and basically all day long I would fantasize about sleeping. And I know it sounds weird, and it's not really dramatic, or it's not really a dominantly negative symptom, and I know people have way more drastic stories than I do, but it was just not a comfortable way of living. Just imagine going through your day and fantasizing about sleeping all day long, and I would have this mental checklist of go to work, go work out, have dinner, and I would check them off in my head and see that I'm one step closer to sleeping. So, and that also wasn't that consistent to make me concerned. It was only before I would start my cycle, bleeding. So I decided that it wouldn't hurt for me to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables. So I started experimenting with salads, and based on Ellen's recipes and Derek's recipes, I started just taking these big bowls of salad and fruit to work with me. And this went on for a couple of weeks or months, I don't remember, when one weekend we watched Forks Over Knives and What the Health back to back on a Sunday-Saturday or Saturday-Sunday combination, and I watched it with Daniel, then sitting over there, and we watched them together. And you have to know that Daniel has type 1 diabetes. He's been diagnosed with it when I think he was 18, so he's been living with it for more than almost a decade now. And one of the documentaries, I think it was What the Health, made the connection between dairy consumption and type 1 diabetes in particular. And we literally bought cheese the same day, and he went straight to the fridge, and the unopened brand new cheese landed in the bin, and that was it. He would never look back and consume cheese again. And from then on, I looked into how, because Daniel eats a lot of food and he's quite hard to satiate. Not quite hard, but he needs big portions. So I started to experiment with more satiating and more abundant, more bulkier vegan recipes. And I distinctly remember this one day when we had baked sweet potato with a salad and guacamole, and we went out for a really big hike, and we never got hungry. Not never, but for a really long time, for a surprisingly long time, we didn't get hungry. And Dan realized this and noticed this, and he was really quite impressed. So it's just, and ever since it was a really nice and slow transition. So this is around, again, this is around 2017 that I'm talking about. And when we moved to Sweden in the summer of 2018, that's a very distinct line where we can draw, as the two of us, and our vegan journey or transition, that's the time where we committed fully to a whole food plant-based diet. So I would say that my vegan journey started when I was 17, and then it got to a really nice circle in 2017. And then from the summer of 2017 to the summer of 2018, we transitioned really slowly together with Daniel. I think it was really nice. I might have Daniel sit down with me in a video once, and we can share both of our perspectives. So it took me actively a year to transition from a normal diet to a vegan diet, to a whole food plant-based diet actually, and we've never looked back. So we tend to talk about the end of July as our second birthdays, and ever since we've transitioned, the only thing we wish it's that we could have done it sooner. So that's where we are now, and we are even more curious and even more thirsty for knowledge. So we make a conscious decision to surround ourselves, especially online, with people that we look up to. Like, still, Ellen Fisher is one of my biggest inspirations, Derek Simnett, Simon Hill from the Plant Proof podcast, Rich Roll, Dr. Will Bulshevitz, the gastroenterologist, and much more. Dan really enjoys Robbie and Cyrus's Mastering Diabetes newsletter. They're also vegan, so it's been a really nice journey, and I feel like this is only the beginning, and this lifestyle just opens up a lot of, just opens up life, and I think there's more to this than just eating. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, because it really supports my small dream of mine, which is to be big. And I really hope that you consider doing Veganuary in any way, shape or form that's suitable for your lifestyle and that's comfortable for you. And I hope to see you back on my channel, and until then, namaste and take care.